Is that all you got to say? At the sound of George's deep, booming voice, I recoiled in fear. This Christmas, having been belittled by Linda, not protected by Mike, and even my daughter got insulted. I thought things couldn't get any worse, yet something else seemed about to happen. I was on the verge of tears. My name is Emily. I started working right after middle school and had a shotgun wedding at 19. My parents were what you'd call irregular workers. With unstable employment came an unstable income. That's why I started working right after middle school. I wanted to be independent and to have my own cell phone. My husband, Mike, is 4 years older than me. We met at my place of work. I was captivated by Mike's flamboyant appearance and seemingly lavish lifestyle. We started dating and eventually had a shotgun wedding. At that time, I was 19 years old. Mike was 23 years old. I was only 19, so both families were understandably shaken. Especially Mike's grandfather, George, who was furious. "You got a 19-year-old pregnant," he exclaimed, and reportedly, George hit Mike for it. George was strict, stern, and intimidating, feared by everyone in the family. Perhaps it was his insistence on a properly making amends that led to a grand wedding ceremony, with all expenses covered by my in-laws. At that time, I was treated like a princess. Handled with great care and importance. And that was the peak of my mother-in-law Linda's kindness towards me. Now, 10 years into our marriage, Linda despises me. My in-laws run a family business. A company founded by George, who is still the acting CEO. A powerful, one-man CEO who overcame adversity to expand the company significantly. Linda oversees the administrative work as an executive. While Mike currently works for another company, he is expected to take over from George in the future. The company has 70 employees. And it seems to be performing well. The lifestyle of my in-laws is affluent, entirely different from any life I've ever known. The standard of living is completely unlike anything I've experienced in my life. Everyday meals, clothing, holidays, choosing a kindergarten for my daughter. At every turn, the difference between me and my in-laws became glaringly evident. To me, I was just living a normal life, but to Linda, I must have seemed poverty-stricken. Whenever Linda looked at me, she always frowned. At first, it was just subtle digs, but now she blatantly despises me as a low-class woman. From princess to servant, quite the demotion. Mike initially tried to mediate between us, aiming to keep the peace. That was the case for the first few years. But at some point, Mike started siding with Linda. This shift was likely because Mike was receiving an allowance from Linda. Linda has essentially bought Mike over. Mike's allowance from our household budget is properly allocated. $400 a month. I don't think it's an insignificant amount. Yet, Mike chose Linda's side. I wonder how much she's paying him. Another gloomy holiday season has arrived. Being self-employed, my in-laws are swamped with client greetings and employee year-end adjustments. I've become the default for handling household chores during this period. Between my own job and home duties, I take care of their household. Emily, make sure the laundry is done. Don't mix up the fabric softener for the towels. And the car wash too. I won't overlook any skimping on the drying. Dinner should be beef stew, remember, beef, not chicken or pork. We have different tastes than your impoverished palate. And don't leave any water droplets in the sink. Also, double-check the greeting cards for any address errors. Alright, understood. Feels like I'm a maid. I'd be motivated if there was a paycheck, but there's none. Not even a word of thanks. It's hard to find motivation. But Linda, supposedly too busy for household chores, always has time to critique mine. Slacking off means getting an earful. It's troublesome. Car washing. I guess a drive-through wash won't cut it. It has to be spotless inside and out to pass muster. I detest car washing, especially in this chilly winter season. It's depressing. My daughter's elementary school is now on winter break. But Christmas brings its own set of tasks. Many visit my in-laws for holiday greetings. Relatives, company folks, George's friends. Linda is busy attending to them. As a result, more troublesome tasks are dumped on me. Cooking, dishwashing, shopping, cleaning, answering calls. No time to sit and rest. Eating in the kitchen, standing up, amidst chores. Linda and Mike seem to be enjoying their conversations with the visiting relatives for holiday greetings. Everyone's voices are loud, likely due to the alcohol. Mike serves drinks to Linda. My daughter plays board games with other kids. Everyone seems to enjoy themselves. While I work non-stop, listening to their laughter. It's annual, so I'm somewhat resigned to it. Right, let's give out some gifts. Everyone, here you go, presents for you all. With that, Linda began distributing presents to the children. Oh right, I need to hand out our gifts as well. In a rush, I grabbed the presents I had prepared and left the kitchen. Merry Christmas. Here's a gift from us too, huh? What's wrong? As I approached the children with the gifts, I noticed they all seemed tense. Linda was the only one in a good mood. The contrast between the children and Linda was stark. The children looked at me warily, as if frightened. What's up? What happened? Well. The oldest boy started to say something but then stopped. He glanced between what was in his hand and what my daughter was holding. The boy with a present in his hand, and my daughter with nothing. Like the boy, the other children also had presents. My daughter looked down, a sad expression on her face. Emily, from this year on, there won't be any presents for your child. Eh? Oh, is that so? It's fine if there aren't any presents. But why is it only my child who's excluded? And to announce it like that in front of the other children, that's just cruel. The children around seemed confused as well. Whether Linda could see the situation or not, with alcohol in her system, she cheerfully said. That's right. I thought our gifts were too grand for the child of a poorly educated daughter-in-law. What? I was taken aback by her unexpected words. What? Because I'm only a middle school graduate, gifts for others but not for my daughter? Are you discriminating against my daughter for that reason? Discrimination? That sounds so harsh. It's just a natural distinction. Over these 10 years, I've come to understand exactly your level. Your daughter, inheriting your meager tastes, wouldn't appreciate anything of value we gave her, so it's pointless. How is that a natural? My education has nothing to do with my daughter. Furious, I shouted. Linda's eyes widened in anger. Well, what kind of tone is that to use? I don't care about that right now. No parent would stay silent when their child is insulted. Insulted? Who do you think you are? Your only asset is your youth, and you have nothing else. Just a loser who can only do housework. A good-for-nothing. I am an executive at the company, in charge of the administrative duties. I am far superior to you. That has nothing to do with our daughter. You said something terrible to her. Apologize. Mike, say something. Me? Are you seriously this laid back while your parents and wife are arguing? Is your head filled with nothing but cheer, you fool? Yeah, well, about the presents, Mike tossed a peeled orange into his mouth. Chewing, he suggested. Why don't you give her some money? We're always in her debt, after all. What? You're the only one here getting an allowance and being taken care of. Can't you see our daughter is distressed? She's right there, in plain sight, in front of you. This isn't about whether there are presents or not. The issue is that Linda is hurting our daughter. What a good idea, indeed. That's my son for you. Come on, show some respect to your parent, even if it's just by marriage. That unimpressive gift you're holding, shall I graciously accept it? Linda laughed haughtily. This is the worst. What's with this family? They've always treated me poorly, but this is a new low. Is it because they've been drinking? That's no excuse. You, inhuman. I yelled at Mike. Mike scowled back at me. Then it happened. Is that all you have to say? I flinched at the sound of George's deep, booming voice. George had been silent until now. Sitting deeply in the sofa with his eyes closed, he exuded an immense presence. Yet, he exuded an immense presence. This Christmas, belittled by Linda, unprotected by Mike, and my daughter disregarded. Yet, it seemed something else was about to happen. I felt like crying. But I couldn't back down. No. I have more to say. Yes, I didn't even go to high school, and yes, I lack formal education, but I work hard. Saying I can only do housework is a prejudice. Moreover, my abilities and education have nothing to do with my daughter. When I talked back to George, Mike had a whoa look on his face. As if to say, she must be out of her mind to stand up to our terrifying George. Linda was grinning smugly. No doubt fantasizing about me getting a dressing down from George. I see. I understand your point, Emily. George said, slowly rising to his feet and clenching his fist. I braced myself, closing my eyes and bowing my head. Ouch. The cry came from Mike. George had brought his fist down on Mike's head. Mike was startled by the sudden pain. I was dumbfounded. So was Linda. George looked furious. You fool. What are you sitting there for? What? You're doing nothing while your wife and daughter are being insulted. What does that mean? Ooh, well, it's true that Emily didn't go to high school. If you say so, me too. I know, but... You know, yet you still ridicule people for that. Mike was taken aback by George's angry voice. It seemed like Mike knew but had forgotten or didn't think George's past was significant. George then turned to Linda. I graduated from middle school and went straight to work. Then, I saved up to start my own business. By your logic, I'd also be nothing but a housebound good-for-nothing. Don't think you can insult me and get away with it. George was known to return favors and avenge slights manifold. It was with this indomitable spirit that he grew his company. Now George was furious, feeling insulted. Linda started to panic and make excuses. It's not the same. You and Emily are different. I wasn't speaking ill of you. It's just that Emily being. As Linda mentioned it again, George's face grew even more intimidating. Don't tell me you're unaware of the struggles I've faced. It made us looked down upon by clients and competitors alike. And we've suffered greatly for it. Yes, I know, but that's... Linda was at a loss for words. George seemed as explosive as an erupting volcano in his anger. The sight of him unleashing his fury was terrifying. So, Linda, being the daughter of a loser like me, must also have meager tastes. It's probably because of your poor character that your husband left you. Truly regrettable. Dad. That's not what we're talking about right now. I thought you would have learned from the painful experience. Have you forgotten how much you had to pay your ex-husband for emotional distress? It's disappointing to see you haven't changed. Linda has a past where her marriage fell apart due to marital issues, leading to her spouse leaving her. The divorce happened when Mike was in high school. Linda considered her divorce a blemish on her life and got upset whenever it was mentioned, so the details were never clear. That's why I never inquired in detail about the reason for the divorce. However, from the way George spoke, it was clear that Linda's personality had been the issue. Relatives who had come for holiday greetings were sneaking out, likely eager to escape the unfolding drama. Poor souls, caught in this mess right at the start of the happy holidays. It's nonsense to spend money on someone who doesn't learn from mistakes. After the holidays, you'll no longer be an executive. You'll be switched to a part-time position. What? Linda let out a voice of despair. But it seemed she wouldn't dare to go against George, who held absolute power in the household. Mike, you're always being taken care of by your mother, aren't you? Ooh, yeah. Then you should be the one giving her money. You owe her the most. What? What's the matter? Didn't you just say that yourself? What was that about, then? Were those just empty words? Under George's sharp gaze, Mike hastily pulled out his wallet from his back pocket. A fancy, high-brand wallet. Purchased with the allowance from Linda. In his haste, Mike dropped his wallet onto the feast laid out on the table. The wallet got soaked. Mike extracted wet bills from it and presented them to Linda. Linda pinched the damp bills between her fingers to accept them. Now, it's your turn. George's gaze fixed on Linda. He looked like a hawk eyeing its prey. You've also been under my care. You must have something to give. Ah, yes, of course. Linda rushed to her bag and pulled out her wallet. In her haste, Linda's wallet tumbled from her grasp. Just like Mike earlier. She then added some bills to the money Mike had handed over and gave it to George. I'm always grateful for your support. George snatched the offered money and extended it to my daughter. My daughter, who had been stiff with fear during the adult quarrel, tentatively looked up at George. George said in a low, dignified voice. This is a present from me. Use it for something that will benefit you. My daughter was astounded by the bundle of bills, an amount she had never held before. Emily. Yes. I straightened up and responded. My turn now. I was terrified of what might be said next. Honestly, Linda's nagging would have been easier to handle. As I nervously awaited his words, George slightly softened his voice and said, Would your parents mind if you and your daughter returned home now? If it's all right with your family, take some of these dishes and pay them a visit. I have some matters to discuss with these two fools. I think it would be fine. I would go home even if my parents said it wasn't okay. It's fine. George pointed to the luxurious dishes ordered from a restaurant. With many guests during the holidays, my in-laws had purchased several high-end dishes. Among them was the most extravagant one. I braced myself for Linda's objection, but she was likely too preoccupied with the upcoming talk from George to react. She didn't say anything. In a rush, I wrapped up the feast and started to clear the table. My daughter joined in to help. Then George said, Good. Let them handle this. Hurry along. At his words, Linda and Mike scrambled to their feet and began gathering plates. My daughter and I exchanged glances, thanked George properly, and left the in-laws' house. My parents were surprised by the sudden visit. But they warmly welcomed my daughter and me. The Christmas celebration at my parents' house was simple as always, with no special decorations. The festive meal consisted only of items bought from the supermarket. The soup was the usual eggplant soup we had regularly. Then the luxurious feast made a grand appearance. My parents were delighted and called my in-laws to express their gratitude. Linda's voice over the phone sounded weak and listless. My daughter and I spent 2 nights at my parents' house before returning home. For the first time since getting married, I had a peaceful Christmas and it was truly blissful. When we got home, a lot had changed. Firstly, the stern talking to from George had a profound effect on Mike and Linda, making them uncharacteristically docile. They no longer nagged or made snide remarks at me. Mike had also stopped siding with Linda. Moreover, Mike's path to eventually succeeding his grandfather as the company president had been cut off. The grandfather appointed a successor to the president from among the employees. He chose someone who had been loyal and made significant contributions to the company over the years. This person was well versed in the business and held in high esteem by the workforce. Honestly, the company is probably in safer hands with him than it ever would have been with Mike. True to the declaration, Linda was removed from her executive position and dismissed before the holiday break ended. She then rejoined the company as a part-time employee. The administrative tasks Linda used to handle were reassigned to someone else, who turned out to be highly efficient, completing tasks faster and more accurately than Linda had. Between the new president and the reassignment of Linda's tasks, I can't help but admire George's knack for personnel decisions. He truly is a formidable CEO. Linda's income plummeted after she was removed from her executive position. As a result, Mike no longer received an allowance from Linda. The employees, who previously flattered Linda for her status as the boss's daughter, changed their attitude. Now seen as someone who incurred George's wrath, they keep their distance from her. Linda has lost the place where she could assert her dominance. Now, she works quietly, diminished in stature. My daughter has become quite critical of Mike. This is because he didn't protect her when Linda was saying those awful things. It's Mike's own fault. Being demeaned by Linda as only capable of household chores motivated me to make a change. I started attending a correspondence high school. Previously, I would do housework while my daughter did her homework. But since the incident, Mike has taken on more household duties, freeing up some of my time. I've been using this time to study. My daughter beams when she sees me dedicated to my studies. She's also started helping out with the household chores on her own initiative and has become more open about sharing details of her school life with me. The confrontation with Linda during the new year made me realize something. I had somewhat resigned myself to the idea that I'm just a middle school graduate. I decided to shed that limiting belief. I am trying to graduate with the best grades in school. I believe I can do it.